Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. Wednesday, new album review day. And as we've been doing for the first couple Wednesdays in January, we're still playing catch up with things that came out in 2021 that we just didn't get to in time. So we're trying to finish those all up before we move completely into new 2022 releases here on the channel. This one, no exception. Got this one really, really late. It's a good one. Might have even made my top of the list for the year from the legendary guitar player, legendary fusion guitarist John McLaughlin, Liberation Time. Of course, he's been busy of late over the last bunch of albums with his Fourth Dimension band, which is generally speaking himself and Gary Husband on drums and keyboards and piano, Etienne Mepap and Ranjit Barrow. Here, though, this album created basically obviously in a pandemic, right? So not so much a Fourth Dimension band album. In fact, it's not even really listed as such as opposed to some of the prior ones. But he's got those guys on here as well as a whole bunch of other guests. Let's see, we've got Roger, oh boy, I'm going to try and read this here. Roger Rosignol on piano. John, of course, on guitar synths, and piano on 2 tracks. We got Ranjit Barrow on drums. And Connor Kroll, which is kind of like this kind of percussive talk scatting type thing, does that on 1 track. You got Jean-Michel Oblet on drums. You got Vinny Colaiuta on drums. You've got Nicholas Vaccaro on drums. Julian Siegel on tenor sax. Etienne Mepap on bass. Wonderful bass player, by the way. Gary Husband's drums and piano. Sam Burgess on bass. Jerome Regard on bass. And Oz Esselden on piano. And, of course, Mr. McLaughlin playing his ever so trusty now Paul Reed Smith guitars. He had moved away from Gibson guitars quite a while back. He's been playing Paul Reed Smith pretty much exclusively in more recent times. So let's take a look at got John on the front, right? There he is on the back, title tracks, and there is everybody listed there, and a little bit of info. And this comes out on Abstract Logic Records. Media Stars. If you've been listening to the last bunch of McLaughlin albums with the Fourth Dimension, this is not all that different. There's a lot of very classy things going on here, but there's a lot of burning going on, if you know what I mean. If you're a jazz and jazz fusion fan, burning means lots of soloing, getting down and dirty. Almost all the songs on here, with the exception, I'm going to say, of 3, are exactly that, are just like complete high-intensity rave-ups if you're a fan of his old stuff with Mahavishnu Orchestra, right? But with more of, like, obviously a modern flair and much, much more guitar-focused. You've come to the right place here. Kicks off in grand style with a song called As the Spirit Sings, which features John alongside Vinny Colaiuta, Sam Burgess, and Gary Husband. This, right off the bat, the guitar is flying, it's soaring, high intensity, love it. Actually, my 2 favorite songs on here are the first track and the last track. They bookend the album quite well. That's a scorcher, which kicks off the album just a little over 5 minutes long. Then you've got Singing Our Secrets is up next. A little more melodic, a little more laid back, a little jazzier, not as much intensity on this one, but still really good. You got McLaughlin on this with Oblet and Roger Rosignol. Then you've got Lockdown Blues, which goes over the 7-minute mark. That's track number 3 with McLaughlin, Husband, Mepap, and Barrow. Basically, that's the Fourth Dimension band right there. That's really, really cool. It's more of like a bluesy rocker, but a seriously fierce rave up with the guitars flying, the bass is locked in, great drumming, great piano on this one too. Lockdown Blues is really, really cool, and of course Lockdown Blues, you know what that's all about, right? Next up, we've got one of 2 little, oddly enough, solo McLaughlin piano pieces. They're both really short. You've got Milarepa, which is the next one, just over 2 minutes long. Yeah, it's kind of nice, right? I don't really know of McLaughlin being a piano player, but I guess he's had time to learn over the years, and it's kind of an interesting fit on here, right? Thing is, it's brief, so it doesn't take up much space. But considering the album is only 36 minutes long, right, or thereabouts, you've got roughly 4 minutes on this album of solo piano stuff, which hey, John can do what he wants, right? But I almost would have rather heard another kind of like full band piece. But hey, whatever. Then you got Right Here, Right Now, Right On, which is the second longest track on here at 7:26. Here you got McLaughlin with Vaccaro, Rajard, Siegel, and Ezeldin. This is another cool fusion burner, right? High intensity. Oh, another really standout track on here. Then you've got Shade of Blue, which is another really, really short piano piece. And then the longest track on the album, at just under 8 minutes long, the title track, Liberation Time, which is McLaughlin, Husband, and Burgess. A complete face melter. I mean, McLaughlin's playing on this album is just out of control good. It's that he's got that whole speed of light thing going on, like always. However, his tone in more recent years is not quite as savage as what we got back in the 70s on those Mahavishnu records, where he was playing the Les Paul through a Marshall. Here he's using, I'm not really quite sure what amps he's using, maybe it says here, but he's using, obviously, the Paul Reed Smith guitars. Let's see. He doesn't mention on here. Yeah, just Paul Reed Smith guitars and D'Addario strings. But his tone is a little softer. I wouldn't quite say it's like Pat Metheny soft, but it's definitely lighter, there's not as much gain on the guitar like he had back in the old days. So it's still high intensity, but it's delivered in a manner that it's less rock based, I think. Maybe that's what it is. So, with the less gain, less distortion, it's a little bit easier maybe for jazzers' ears, right, so to speak, because I know there's plenty of old school jazz folks who never liked the Mahavishnu Orchestra because it was so loud and intense and rock based, whereas Fourth Dimension and more recent McLaughlin stuff is definitely that intensity, the virtuosity is still there. It's just delivered in a less kind of loud in your face type of a way, but still no less impressive because the virtuosity and the musicality is still there. So I really like this a lot. Like I said, you got the two kind of throwaway piano pieces, but whatever. The rest of the tracks are all really, really fun. This is an easy 4 or 4.5 out of 5 star for me. McLaughlin's playing just never ceases to amaze, and he just turned 80 years old. And man, this guy is playing like this at 80. Man, serious stuff going on here. So check it out. Liberation Time, John McLaughlin and friends. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you real soon here on the channel with more stuff. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all of our content. We also have the links below in the video description for our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, as well as our merch page. All sorts of cool Sea Tranquility stuff available. So thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon. I'm Pete Pardo. Bye-bye.